Right, it's time for the paper review this morning, and we'll bring you the headlines across newspapers in the country. We have joining us as usual the managing editor of Gloom TV, Ayodele Adio. Good morning, Ayodele.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you.
Same here.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's begin with the Daily Trust now. Federal government asks MTN to pay $2 billion tax arrears, and telecom company denies wrongdoing as shares tumble. This issue has been on just after days, I think about less than a week,
after the
CBN came out to say they have to repatriate about $8 billion.
Yeah, I mean, even though I think I read a press statement from the public relations person of the MTN, who said that he disputed the figures, from the Attorney General. And I think he argued, of some $700 million, which were the actual amount that they were supposed to pay. But whatever it is, this has to stop. They need to find a middle ground, because I think as of 2 days ago, the MTN shares had fallen by 30%,
yes, exactly.
And they've lost close to $2 billion already. Because if we don't fix this, MTN are one of the highest employer, of labor in Nigeria, and so we need jobs in this country. This is not to say that people should not. Exactly. This is not what cost. Exactly. This is not to say that they should not play by the rules and by the books. And that's why I said it's important that they find a middle ground and fix it in the interest.
Obviously,
of the Nigerian people.
Ayodele, there are loopholes in the system that allow for such things to happen in the first place. Otherwise, in fact, I'm sure it's not only MTN that is guilty of that.
In fact, they even quoted that law in the statement that they released, that the law allows them to repatriate funds back home. So
meanwhile, ATCON is saying that it's a wrong signal to investors.
Well, yeah,
meaning
the way it is being
that Nigeria should not insist that this $2 billion, or is it $8 billion, according to CBN, should not be paid back?
I mean, for the international community, of international investors, if you like, they want to see a transparent system. They want to be sure that when they bring their billions of dollars into your economy, they will be treated fairly and justly. They want a system wherein they can have a fair hearing, in a court that is not bogged down by the normal bureaucratic structure that you have in your country, so that
I think
things can be resolved quickly.
Yeah, I think that issue has been handled at the time, because we knew during the recession, when companies were prevented from repatriating their funds, but that is all over now.
Yeah,
exactly.
But this is just playing by the rules. This is all about playing by the rules from the allegations or accusations on the company. All right, let's just move on. Shekarau dumps PDP, returns to APC. We're still having more gale of defections here and there.
I mean, it's quite interesting. Many of us had wondered how these big titans were going to manage their egos in the PDP in Kano State, because when the likes of Kwankwaso walks into a party, what usually happens is like they take all the structures, and for goodness sake, Ibrahim Shekaro had been the one in charge of these structures in the last 4 years, and then suddenly, Rabi Musa Kwankwaso comes in, and the structure seems as though it's being handed over to him. I know that there were negotiations to concede a few positions to Ibrahim Shekaro. Some had it that the Senate seat for Kano Central was conceded to him, the place of the deputy governor. Probably that wasn't enough. And he didn't feel... It's
never really enough for the politicians, is it? Let's just...
Certainly, it can never be enough. Nigeria benefited over $5 billion from FOCAC in 3 years, as Buhari is saying that. Well, whether all that is manifesting or translating
is another matter.
Benefit of Nigerians is something else. Couple gives son as collateral for loan.
Oh.
I mean, that's shocking. Whether or not, sometimes I wonder, is it the fact that issues like this were not being reported in the past? Or is it that it's just started to happen? Because it's
the other day we read about a woman who actually sold her baby and used the money to buy A phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay,
people even keep children for collateral these days.
It's really sad, I'm telling you.
All right, moving on to the Nation newspaper now. Osun 2018, Oyetola Osun's future brighter under APC. INEC moves to foil vote buying, and AD candidates won't abandon projects. Okay, things are heating up in Osun. The elections, of course, come up on this month, 22nd of this month. We'll see how all of that...
We're yet to see how INEC is actually going to move to stop vote buying. Because the social economic reality in the country is a strong pointer to the fact that it's going to be the real elephant in the room. I don't see how INEC will be able to deal with the exchange of monies, you know, to persuade voters to go vote for certain candidates by inducing them with monies.
You know, moves they're making is to, is it open ballot system? That's what they say they're going to adopt?
Well, the point there is it has
no,
always been open ballot.
And they said no, there will not be any hand phones or, you know, phones around.
I mean, it's just to
polling areas and all of that.
To restructure the polling,
votes are
bought
votes are bought in two ways. You probably might be able to reduce the amount of vote buying at the polling units, you know, where it actually happens. What about
before people get
but the main vote buying doesn't even happen there anymore.
That's the point we're making.
It doesn't happen at the polling station or polling unit anymore.
So you might be able to deal with that, but the real issue, there's no way I see the INEC, you know, being able to deal with that when the social economic reality points otherwise.
All right, there's this explosive, forgive the use of words there, headline from The Nation. 2019, 5 PDP governors seeking deal with Buhari. According to this newspaper, it all has to do with ensuring that they retain their seats while supporting President Buhari to retain his seat.
It's not a new thing. Politicians have done that in the past.
Yes.
Without mentioning names, in 2011, you know, certain deals like that were made in this country, where people, to retain their strongholds, supported the president at the time for re-election. So it's nothing new. Politicians are always looking to survive first.
We have
so it's all about their survival first.
We have even seen
whatever
that. We've seen that play very vividly in Anambra State, where it has been ABGA. But the point there is that the cross-party deals is that for presidency, don't worry, we'll give you our vote.
All yours.
But when it comes to the state,
just
please leave us alone. Leave us alone, we remain ABGA.
Exactly.
All right, Oshibajo, Vice President, Atiku clash over restructuring. Of course, they've been trying to, you know, be at each other's throats over what exactly their definition of restructuring is.
I don't think it's more of a clash as it is a contest of ideas. I mean, I don't like the word clash.
Okay.
Well, what we
the
want
nation
to see,
decided to use the word clash.
And I don't like that. I mean, it's a contest of ideas, and that's what you expect, you know, in your political environment where, you know, people debate ideas in the public, and it's beautiful to see.
Okay.
You know, that they are going at each other's ideas.
All right, let's see whose idea will carry the day. APC to pick presidential candidate September 20. All right, obviously by September 20, we will know exactly who the APC will be picking. But is that obvious?
Well, in politics, they say 24 hours
is a whole lot of time.
Exactly, anything can happen.
Exactly.
And we're just going through a news report, a report that we just saw now, not long, saying that someone was saying, sorry, I cannot afford the 55 million naira for the forms and all of that. So, but we'll wait to see how things play out.
All right, a Nigeria-China partnership yields $5 billion projects. All right, a very interesting one there from The Nation.
The Daily Sun is the next paper now. IGP orders detention of 4 cops over Clark's home raid. Ijaw leader considers legal action. Okay.
I mean, that's quite interesting because when I saw the denials, you know, in the public square, you know, that the top hierarchy of the police were not aware, you know, of the raiding of, you know, Chief Clark's house. And I was wondering how, you know, junior officers will take an initiative
on their own,
to go to, of all places, Chief Clark's house, and you know, do what they did. It just left me wondering, you know, what gave them the temerity or the audacity.
Well, there were reports that
go
they had
there to
been
do it.
directed by the IG to actually carry out that raid, but the IG has distanced himself from it. Of course, these officers have been detained. We'll find
wait
out
to see
exactly
how
at the
it
end of the
goes.
day who really was behind
responsible
this.
for that. No going back on September 14, sit at home. IPOB is saying this. The point there is, in the eyes of Nigeria, as far as the books are concerned, there is no organization or group as IPOB anymore in the books.
You know, I've said this before and I will continue to say it, that whatever they decide to do, you know, whether it's a protest, whether it's a sit at home, it's within their rights. But they must not shoot themselves on the foot by deciding to boycott the coming elections.
Yeah.
When you do that, you would have put yourself in the very hole that you're
you are
complaining that you're in. So, I mean, you can sit at home, you know, it's your right to do that. But make sure that you participate, you galvanize your people, you make your interest well known, and you negotiate and support candidates, you know, that will put your interest forward.
In fact, there was an advice to when Kanu was around, that when he was still leading his people on the streets, go with all of the support you have.
Form a political party.
Articulate them, form a political party, and change the system.
Exactly.
Or all you have, pour it into any of the political parties you feel that you know
share the same ideologies
same
that you
idea that like you have, and change the system instead of complaining.
That's the way to go.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay, let's move on now. 2019, David Mark, Donald Duke joined presidential race in PDP and SDP, respectively. Okay, we're still having more and more presidential aspirants.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
the number is increasing.
Yeah, but from the PDP point of view, you can see it's a tactical move on the part of the PDP.
How?
You see that most of these people who are coming out to run are not necessarily going to go all the way.
Okay.
You know, but they are doing that to close the gap on certain constituencies in the country, to keying certain regions for the PDP. When you have a David Mark who's running for president, you're sure that he's going to rally the North Central states around him. And if you can secure that at the right time, you collapse it into one. You know, so these candidates, they're just trying to spread themselves around to capitalize on each other's popularities.
Or won't
in
they
whatever
be spreading
region.
themselves too thin?
No, because at the end of the day, they are going to collapse.
They're going to collapse together.
They're going to collapse it at the end of the day.
Yes. The APC begins primaries September 20 with presidential. Insists on 45 million, 22 million, 7 million and 3 million nomination fees. That's for the president, for the governor, for the Senate, and for House of Reps. Okay.
45 million.
I mean,
That's a lot.
Presidential.
But I wonder, why does nomination forms have to cost that much?
I mean, you ask yourself, the contradiction, sir, is startling. First of all, this is a party that said it's supposed to be progressive. And your nomination form is 4 times that of the PDP. Secondly, the party is being led by a former leader of the labor union who would have argued all his life, you know,
against such a thing.
And you lead a progressive party that hikes its nomination form at 45 million. It's just the contradiction is just really startling. And the ruling party cannot afford to send a wrong signal to the Nigerian people, to stifle the opportunities of young people within that party, to clip the ambition, to clip the aspirations for the various offices that they intend to see.
And speaking of young people, the not too young to run group renamed Ready to Run have actually been recommending 1 million naira for the nomination forms for the presidential, and they've of course brought it down. Governorship and all of that.
And it remains a recommendation.
It remains, unfortunately. But when we say we're fighting corruption, maybe APC really has to explain to us where they expect people who are interested in presidential, seats, where they expect them to get that kind of money.
I think the problem again is the debt of civil society and pressure groups in the country. And they allow
we don't seem to be hearing much from them.
They allow these people to get away with these things easily. Otherwise, they should be answering tough questions.
To the New Telegraph now, police raid Clark's residence, accuse Ijaw leader of stockpiling arms and ammunition. Ex-minister, it's ridiculous to accuse me of selling arms. IG orders detention of 4 policemen and informants, in parentheses, and northern leaders Pandev kick. Of course, after searching Clark's residence, there was no evidence of arms or anything of the sort. We'll see how this one pans out. Nigeria has benefited $5 billion projects from China, says President Buhari. Shekarau dumps PDP, considers APC. Considers? Thought he had already jumped. Okay. Okay. 2019, why I'm running for the presidency. David Mark, former Senate president, saying that, of course, he says he has a lot of experience. He's been governor, he's been minister, he's been Senate president, he's been all kinds of things. I'll talk about one of those people who have really benefited from Nigeria.
Exactly.
Maybe he'll have his opportunity to give back. Legislative aides threaten to shut down National Assembly. Of course, that would have to do with their pay and all of that. Oshibajo, Atiku at war. Okay, so this paper is using war. Again, the nation used the clash. I wonder which one is stronger. Atiku at war over.
Did you read? Did you read?
Maybe another one would use battle.
Battle. I don't know if you read, the positions of the gentleman.
Yes,
They were brilliant articulation of the ideas, and it was a contest of
well,
ideas.
according to Professor Yemi Oshibajo, the vice president, it says Atiku's concept of restructuring is understandably vague. And, well, in response, Atiku says Oshibajo, fails to show the wisdom in sharing out $322 million of Abacha funds to the poor, only to take a loan of $328 million from the Chinese the very next month.
Well, I think former Vice President Atiku has made his position clear on restructuring. I think he's debated it elaborately. He's put out all the points on the table.
Yes.
And I don't think his ideas are clear. I do not think his ideas, as vague. As the VP, has claimed to be. Unfortunately for the Vice President, he sits in power in a government that promised to restructure the country and has not done that, but funded or supported some sort of a town hall. What do they call that? When the consultation of the national, when they send people around the country to get ideas for restructuring, they submitted the report, and it's now back to the dustbin. So,
yeah.
All right. The Punch is our last paper now. PDP writes UK German leaders, says Buhari abusing rule of law. PDP is taking its pettiness to a ridiculous level. APC is saying that. Well, I wonder what the UK and German leaders can do in this regard.
I mean, it's becoming laughable that for everything that happens in your country, you want to tag, the British Prime Minister or the German Chancellor
or the United Nations.
I mean, it's becoming lazy on the part of the opposition, and they have to step up. If you have to contest, setting positions that you're not comfortable with.
All right.
The apparatus which you can exhaust within your country and not running out the door every single time.
Ayodele Adio, thank you so much. Managing Editor, Gloom TV.